Okay. There we are. We getting? Are we getting a? Yeah. Let me. Somebody in the waiting room.
It's me too.
Looked it up.
It's like I'm weird. I'm like right here. I didn't make any attempt. I know.
Can you just turn the speaker way down or something?
That's what I just did. That's why you don't hear it anymore.
Well, this is actually. Let me call the meeting to order and explain about that. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for being here, and having said good afternoon to this group, always been good morning. I need to explain. I have lost half of my hearing. I'm sitting in the corners. I can only hear out of one ear, and it's been very challenging in noisy rooms. So not just for good order, but partly for my sanity. If I could just ask you, let's just speak one at a time. I literally can't hear when two people are talking. I apologize. I hope it's temporary. The doctors still are not sure. Okay, so Jessica, do you need to deal with the waiting room people?
No,
are they not real people?
It's not real people. It's this room is 1 and 2 listed. So I have the screen up in case anyone joins. No one's here.
Okay. All right. Someday we'll have members of the public here, but plenty to do in the meantime. Turning to the agenda, I'm going to go through it more or less in the order that it is, except the commissioner who is supposed to be joining us for item 2 may not be here by then, and we'll just change the order a little bit so that she is here for that whole discussion. Just a note about the memo, which you probably noticed I've been writing this for every meeting. It has a couple of purposes. It's to guide you through the reading materials, which we've been working to get you, a week or more in advance. But it's also a rough outline for a meeting that I have with really about a month before this, 3-4 weeks before this meeting. And we get together, we set the agenda, we look at the materials, and then I finalize this. So I'm going to be. I hope you've all had a chance to look at it, but I'll be just referring to it from time to time as we go through the items. And please, if you have a question about something I wrote, or want me to, if you want to comment on, please raise your hand when we're in that. If I don't. With that, I think we'll go to the minutes. We've got in the package the minutes of the meeting of February 26th of this year, the usual draft by Jessica, proposed edits by me. So you should see something that has balloons, comments, things in the margins. And are there questions or notes about the minutes?
Under the staff updates, number 5, cemetery, second paragraph to Jeff.
Sorry, Peggy, help me with what page?
Section 5, staff updates, cemetery funds.
I don't see any numbering on.
My phone.
Oh, you're on the memo. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. What's the question?
Go back to the memo.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry about that. Let me just show you. Is that all right?
What, the apostrophe?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people like S parks apostrophe and then another S, but what I was trying to do is to say that the budgeting is prepared by the Parks Division, Parks and Open Space Division.
That's it. Parks and Open Space Division.
Yeah, sorry, I'm abbreviated.
Sorry about that.
I can say POS.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll be diving back into that. So on the minutes, let me just give folks a minute to raise questions or comment.
Quick question about balance of funds. So
You want the front page? Yeah.
on front page, yeah,
Mhm.
so minutes, balance of funds. When will we be discussing that number, balance of funds?
What, you mean in today's meeting?
Will we be discussing that?
Yes,
Okay,
we will.
Yeah.
It's in item number 2.
okay, great.
Yeah, most of the items on today's agenda were also on the February agenda.
Okay.
We're continuing to work on them.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna raise a question. Bottom of page 2, and maybe you'll know this one. Because I think it was at this, the next to the last line, a total of $600,000. I think I may have, I think I may have inserted the phrase a total of $600,000. I just, the question is that right? Is that consistent with your?
Yes, 600,000 is the
Okay.
budget for the.
Okay, so Jessica, we can scrub that comment and just leave that edit in.
Okay.
Unless there are other questions or notes, I would take a motion for, approval of the minutes of February 25th with my edits. You want to make that motion?
So moved.
By Jerry, second, seconded by Tom. A roll call vote, on the approval of the minutes. Jocelyn Murphy.
I was curling in Canada at the time of this meeting, so I'm not familiar with what was discussed, so I'll abstain.
Here's abstain. Thanks. Okay, Bruce Carver,
Aye.
Jerry Hayes,
Aye.
Megan McGuire,
Aye.
Abstain.
abstain. Okay, and I will vote aye.
Do you want to have someone else second it then?
Sorry?
Do you want to have someone else second it since he's
Well,
abstaining?
Peggy did, you did second at the same time.
I will second it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well done. Good housekeeping there. Okay, that's the minute. And we may go back to them because we're continuing on some of the same topics that we're recording that. Let's skip over the roadway improvements. Well, we can do a couple of other things. You know what? This might not take long. I mean, are we gonna get in trouble for doing a 240 agenda item?
No, because you have no one from the public here.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about elections. And I'm just gonna
Oh, yeah.
remember, thank Jerry. Jerry, you were the one who recommended last year. And I can't remember the reasons exactly, but to make it a 1-year term of service, which that's what the select board does, other folks. Jocelyn, comment?
I respectfully have to amend something that you just said. So when you put a time on an agenda like this,
Yes.
it could be that there's public
Waiting to come into it.
who's interested in only an item that's at a later time in the agenda. I don't want to interfere, but I also don't want, I think in the future, you can just put agenda items without times.
Yeah.
And then you're covered.
Yeah, but we really are trying to manage the meeting time because this is what we've got. But fair point, Jocelyn. Let's pause that and we'll instead go to some chair update items. There's no votes to be taken. And they're just informational. Monument design is the first one. And in your packet, you will see, find it. Oh, you know what? I got 2 of something else. Does anybody have the monument design?
Right here.
No, the form.
This one.
Yeah, that one. Have you all got this?
That-
I think just my paper copy that I'm fine, doesn't need it. The update to share is, some ongoing work between me and several members of the staff. This date has this form, which remember is a new form proposed to help cemetery staff, ensure that the monuments get placed at the cemetery aligned with the regulations that have been in place for, over 10 years now. And in the process of, Craig Paul and, Javi, what is Javi's last name?
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez, are the two, folks on the front lines of, for customer relations, along with Jessica at the, for lot purchases. And, what they noticed was that, there wasn't a distinction between, upright markers and monolith markers. And that's actually something that's getting clear in the lot rates. We'll come to that in a minute, but just as a reminder, monolith is just the headstone sticking up out of the grass. An upright marker is a vertical stone on a stone base above the grass. Not only are those different types of monuments, but they, in the layout of Walnut Hills, they occupy different amounts of land associated with the lot. And we'll get back to the amount of land in a minute. But it was helpful that Javi and Greg tapped the brakes on this because on the back side, what you'll see under the changes in here under maximum dimensions allowed, there are now for the first time, specific dimensions for the monolith monuments and for the upright marker monuments, and which are things that have always been there in practice, but they were never written down. Now they're written down. And like I said in the memo, this form and the minor changes in the regulations, which I think are that's in the packet, which has that actually is highlighted. You'll see it on pages 3 and 4. Those are the type of regulations capable of being approved by DPW. So in this update, I'm just letting you know that I'm processing that administratively with Beely and her staff, and those will be when we'll correspond about this later, Jessica, but the new form and the regulations with a minor update will be on the website pretty soon.
Just a question,
Yeah.
on the, when you're calling a monolith, is this a tall structure or,
No, it's
a base and die?
just like one of these,
just a bit?
just a die stone in the grass.
Okay, so this one, I would call like a slab stone, this is a base and die here.
Right, the language of, the seventh language of Walnut Hills is to call these upright markers. And to call this a monolith.
Okay, so you're calling this.
So we're actually taking the language that the staff have always been using and putting that in the regulations and the form that they're using to administer all
Okay.
customer transactions.
Randolph, can I ask a question that's related to monuments? 'Cause I just noticed it the other day. So we went through a year-long exercise to try to find space that would accommodate upright monuments
Mhm.
and located a couple of spaces. One was behind the library and another one was next to the outcropping
On Allendale Road.
behind, no, on the other side.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's an outcropping.
I know where you mean.
You know what I mean?
It's section 21.
Right, and so those lots were specifically identified for upright markers because apparently there was a dearth of spaces for those. And yet there's a new burial site that has a flat marker. So I'm wondering if there needs to be something in the guidelines that distinguishes between upright and flat marker areas.
Absolutely.
Because
Are you saying there's a monolith, a no base monument?
it's interesting, there's a monolith, there's a flat marker, and then in that section, I mean, there's everything.
Yeah.
You can imagine, but in the new section that was supposed to be designated for upright markers, whether monolith or otherwise, there's a flat marker, which is unfortunate because of at least was represented to be the limited number of upright marker spaces.
Yeah, good note. I'm gonna hang on to that. It's gonna relate to the site visit that we're gonna talk about for June.
Yep.
And it also to this question of should the guidelines, that's probably the best place to put them. Should those guidelines go a little further and to say, if you had a lot in section 24, you must use this type of marker. They do not say that now.
Right.
Yeah, good, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna pause in the middle of the chair update. We'll come back to that and welcome Commissioner Aaron Shute. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, how
Nice to
are
see
you?
Thanks for joining us.
Everybody.
And let's back up to the part of the agenda about the roadway improvements and staffing. And Aaron, I'm just going to mention, I have only one ear, so I can't hear very well. And
1 year. that's working.
1 ear that's working.
Sorry about
Looks like we
that.
have 2 weeks.
So the materials for this part of the meeting are the same PowerPoint file that you got in advance was the one that Amelia and Aaron showed at the February meeting. The new information that relates to this was a copy of these communications I had with town council about the question of the trustees' authority relative to the funds. And, we'll leave that at the end. We can come back to it, but let me turn it over to you, Amelia, for the
Yeah.
presentation and your
Yeah,
further remarks about it.
absolutely. Do you all want me to just quickly run through it? So I'll just run through it super quickly. So I'm sharing my screen. So again, it's the same presentation as we looked at during our February 25 meeting. Oh, thank you, Jessica. So again, the agenda, for this presentation is just do a quick review of where we are with our FY27 CIP and CPA projects, and then just looking at our, the budget for the cemetery and the trust fund review. So starting off with FY27 CIP and CPA projects, for the CPA side, just want to make sure that I can see. Okay, starting off with the CPA grant, as you all know, we have FY25 CPA for tree work, including inventory, pruning, and planting, and also some hazardous removals as far as part of our CPA grant, which totals to around $170,000. And it is still ongoing right now. Inventory is complete. A lot of the pruning is complete, but we still have planting left, which we're aiming to do this spring. Then we also received a CPA grant for FY26 on old bearing ground and foster fence restoration. So that was $86,000, and we're still trying to get that started. Then we also have a FY27 request for CPA grant on old bearing ground tomb restoration for around $800,000. And that was approved by the CPA committee and have been making different rounds through the advisory committee, subcommittee, and the full committees as well. But as part of that project, we're hoping that we would be able to restore the rest of the tombs and the walls within the old bearing ground. And some of those really is starting to create structural issues. So we're really looking forward to this grant. And as part of this, implementation, our consultant is also really close to finalizing the 100% bid documents, construction documents. So it'll be really perfect timing and alignment. So likewise for CIP projects, as part of FY26, we have received $100,000, in the CIP for the roadway and drainage design work. And for this fiscal year, FY27, we're requesting $600,000 for the implementation and the construction of that. So this we'll talk about a little bit more and see it, in relation to our larger trust funds, but this is the amount that we're requesting to be funded from the cemetery trust funds.
Just for the last two slides, is it true that it's only the last one that you've got boxed? That's spending from the cemetery funds.
Yes.
The others are all CPA money or
Yes,
or CIP.
so this is all CPA money, all
Okay.
the amounts here, and even that $100,000 that's allocated for design, that's also, already funded.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So it's the $600,000, the implementation construction dollars that we need to discuss today. So just again, you've all heard me talk about this, but the cemetery roadway, essentially the project is to do the roadway improvement and some drainage improvement for different parts of the roadway throughout the project. And this diagram here highlights the conditions of the roadway around various parts of the cemetery, which is all four different types of conditions: green being good condition, blue being fair, yellow being moderate, and red being poor. So with this funding, we've really hoped to ensure that we take care of essentially replace all the roadways that are in poor condition. So that would be a full depth construction, which means we're going to be completely excavating out what's there and replacing with new asphalt. Then we also hope to get as much of the roadways that are in moderate condition, highlighted in yellow, as part of this project. Then fair and good, we'll monitor over the years and do the patchwork as we've been continuing to do so over the past several years. So here are just some of the pictures of the roadway, which it has been an ongoing maintenance that DPW has done, to fill the potholes, to do the patchwork, to ensure that it doesn't degrade any further. But even with all of that work, you can see that it's just kind of at the end of its life cycle right now. So we really think that the cemetery is used by so many people, especially the South Brookline part, as kind of their parks and open space, as a passive space for recreation, and overall, it would just contribute greatly towards the perpetual care of the cemetery. Then I just want to quickly dive into where we are in terms of town budget and where we are in terms of our trust funds. So overall, as part of the FY27 budget, the way DPW has been affected is, some of our service and supplies funding has had, we've seen, a bit of cut, and there's also some personal cuts that we're looking into, and some CIP funding cuts and tightening things up. And, how does this affect the cemetery, right? So in cemetery, if the override that we're going through right now doesn't pass, then we're looking at losing one gardener labor position. And also, this is not really tied to the overall sort of tied, right, Erin, but not directly. But the CIP funding, we're requesting the trustees, we brought forward in February, and also requesting now that the CIP funding for the roadway project be reviewed and considered as part of the trust fund. And then staffing, so just kind of looking ahead, we will be losing one full-time position for the cemetery that's dedicated to the cemetery. And, we've internally thought about, okay, how do we balance that out? And, what we're proposing the trustees today is, could we get approval to fund 2 seasonal staff from the trust fund account, the TW23 account, which would equivalent to around close to $35,000. To really, again, help fill that gap that we will see. So again, a seasonal staff, typically we're able to hire, they can work for 6 months, again, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. And if we have 2 staff, maybe one we hire the first half of the year and the other one comes in the second half of the year, that would help tremendously to kind of continue our current functions without really, compromising anything else.
And if I can just add, for those of you who weren't here last time, there was a little bit of discussion at this point because a couple of years before, the trustees had been brought a proposal to use cemetery funds for a position which is more administrative, and there never was a decision about it. The town went in a different direction. But the discussion last time, and I think, Erin, this was your comment, that there was kind of no gray area that the gardener or the work in the landscape positions like this were clearly directly related to perpetual care.
Yeah, care of the grounds.
Right.
Yeah.
You ready for a motion?
Do you want to-
Maybe just a little more, but to answer your question, yes.
Yes. And again, as I mentioned, for the CIP funding, we're requesting, to fund that project through the DW23 and SW1 account, which is equivalent to $600,000. And we also talked about last time about where we stand in terms of funds, the balances. This is, we are at April 27 right now, but this is from February 20, so a little bit older, but it will not be that different. So just, I would go through each of the items in details, but just want to point out that our funds have been really healthiest over the past few years, is what Aaron and Randall we talked about last time. So you can see here SW1 has 747,000, and DW23 has 1.1 million, and the DW24 account, that's the non-expendable account, has a little bit over 2 million. So again, we're at a really good phase.
And it's that last one that's generating a lot of the income that is then.
Right,
ending
exactly.
in the other
The
fund.
income from investment goes to the TW23 accounts.
Yeah.
So just again, a snapshot here of what we are proposing from the two trust fund accounts, SW1 and TW23. So the first line item here is our annual budget for the perpetual care, around 135,000, which is really in line with what we've been spending over the last few years, and our proposal of 2 seasonal staff, which is close to $35,000. And the funding for the roadway, we're here right now proposing maybe it could be a split between SW1 and TW23, but it's up for discussion if you would like to discuss further how you would like to split it. So once that is all taken out, it's, as you can see here at the bottom, total fund balance remaining, we'll still have a fairly significant and healthy budget remaining. Yeah, and so that's it. I can pause.
Can you just,
back here.
maybe leave it on that
we can
slide?
leave it here.
Just question.
One question,
Sure.
the 135, that's what's taken out every year. Well, it's been 100 that's been taken out every year recently.
Oh, so that is different. The 100,000 back to the general fund, that is taken out of the SW1 account, and the $135,000
That's
is
taken out
separate for the
yeah.
care of the cemetery.
Is this the first year it's gone to 135? If you know.
This is not the first year. Typically, in the past few years, it has been around this amount. So it has, it would actually be less than the amount. I can look into the numbers more
That's okay.
closely, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that's, I think I know was 100. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But can I just ask,
Yeah.
in that category, and I'm sure it could be different from year to year, but does it include things like tree plantings, landscape? and tree
Yes, there's the
services? Yeah, yeah.
care, exactly.
Okay.
There's maintenance, there's supplies, and there's services money. So essentially everything that goes towards the care of the cemetery. And again, we can talk about this further down the agenda. We'll talk more about the process of, presenting the budget and giving you all the detail and, creating that transparency.
Yeah, that's at the end of the meeting, and
Yeah.
it's worth pausing on that
Yeah.
because and this was the purpose of those conversations with town council, was to see, could we get a workable budget information and discussion process at, one meeting a year, and know what we were supposed to be doing as trustees at that time, what kind of action we'll be taking, which is seems to be an advisory, a recommendation about this proposal. And what I wanted to do in this meeting was to have us take that town council opinion about our role as trustees, apply it to this question of the roadway spending, so that we can consider a motion to recommend that, yes, we, and which is not, it's not an approval and it isn't binding on DPW. But that's our job. Other question?
Well, one question, on the roadway work, is that gonna be in-house by town employee work or contracted out?
It will be contracted out.
And that, is that a fixed number or is that variable based on inflation?
I think this is what our estimate was based on, what our engineers know, the amount of work they've seen, and based on some of our recent projects, the unit costs that we've seen. So that was their estimate. And typically based on that initial estimate is how we put the dollar value. But then we really have to wait until the bid comes in. And then, then we might know that, actually for all the roadways in red and yellow condition, it might be 500,000 or, it might be 700,000 and we have to now pick and choose. So it really, until we get the final bid, we would not know the actual number.
So can I ask, is the town going to contract this on the lump sum basis for defined scope, or is it going to be at unit rates for length of roadway? I know roadway work can sometimes go either way.
It's units.
Yeah. Typically for roadway work,
Yeah.
engineering related work, it would be unit costs.
Okay.
So it would not be lump sum.
Which may be an answer to your question, Peggy, that you have the 600,000 is when you stop.
Yes, when you
Exactly.
When they stop because you're out of money.
Exactly.
And you can't.
Well, so I just wanted to say a couple of things about so for the roadway work, the town doesn't do sort of large milling, overlay, full roadway reconstruction work. So we don't have the capacity to do that. So this would be bundled with the town's other roadway work, so we could try to get the best unit price possible for the cemetery. The estimate out of engineers was $600,000, and given when both of these accounts are so healthy, there's more money there than there has been, in historic years, or at least what I remember when we were, really were trying to save. You guys have done a great job doing that. But with TW23, that can be sort of decided and expended for perpetual care without going to town meeting. SW01 has to go to town meeting for authorization. So there's language that is going to town meeting to authorize the use of SW01 for cemetery improvement projects, the authorization of the contracts to be authorized by the select board and the cemetery trustees. So it's not saying you have to spend that money, it's authorizing it. And it's general enough in terms of for cemetery improvement projects that you could decide we'd rather just use TW23 and use that to do the roadway work, and then just keep this authorization for cemetery improvements for $300,000 for future build out, for whatever that might be. But what it means is that you can't use more than $300,000 out of SW01 without a vote of town meeting. So, and our idea was, well, both of these accounts have grown significantly. Maybe you split them, but you might want to do it differently. You just can't go over the $300,000 on the SW01.
Just a comment that add to that again from the sort of trustee side, and this is reflecting merely the discussions you and I had on the proposed routine for budgeting and review of budgeting that we're talking about doing in September. And really the essence of that, an idea, is that it's DPW who proposes and the trustees consider and recommend, we advise about it. And it wasn't really a scheme that contemplated the trustees proposing alternate use of money, not that we couldn't do that, but that just wasn't what we have proposed so far. And I mentioned that just because what I was hoping we could do today was to, fully understand this proposal by DPW and get to a vote on whether we recommend for it or against it. Just to make it as simple as possible. Other questions?
So if I heard Aaron right, that 300,000 of the SWO1 is just an authorization. We might not need it. If we can use it at some point, correct? Or
What I'm saying is, in order to use it, you need an authorization, and that will be voted on by town meeting in May. So you need the authorization. So I think I'm just letting you know that, and that's
Sure.
what's up there. Sorry.
Question?
Yeah.
The authorization today would be for the roadway drainage, summer employees. And assuming you didn't need the money or you decided not to do it, it would not be spent on some other purpose without further discussion. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jerry, and that we're gonna pick that back up at the end of the meeting because that's the whole idea of asking parks to bring, the coming year's budget to every meeting and say, for this amount, for this amount. And, then you have to get through the year and see where you ended up. But the intention is to, have activity be guided by, or DPW's activity guided by its own budgeting that they share with us.
But specifically, that was like, for example, for the roadway money, if you authorize $600,000 to go towards the road, that it wouldn't become work on the stairs or something into the I don't know, the office building without coming back to the
Right.
trustees for a conversation. Yeah.
Motion,
Jerry? Yes,
you ready for a motion?
yes, let's hear you. What motion do you propose?
I would recommend that the trustees, call it what you will, approve, concur, or
Can we
agree.
say recommend, please?
I want to talk about that point.
Okay, good.
If we could, but for this purpose, let's get beyond the money, that we approve whatever we do, the 300,000 and for the roadways, the drainage, and the seasonal laborers. There are reasonable, appropriate expenditures and we should concur with them.
Thank you. Is there a second?
second,
All right. Just a little discussion. Jerry, I like where you ended up with, you're moving that we should concur with them with this budget proposal. I think that captures the guidance of town council.
I disagree with that, but it would be good to get beyond this money.
Okay, okay, yeah, and we have other things to do too. Other discussion on the motion.
I think it's reasonable.
Okay, all right. We'll do a roll call vote as we had before, on the motion. Jocelyn Murphy?
Why do you always start with me?
I'm going clockwise.
Somebody second.
So I'm going to abstain, but for the record, I want to explain that town council issued an opinion that because I sit on both the advisory committee and the trustees, that I can't participate in both. That's being corrected at this upcoming town meeting. So, but in an abundance of caution, I will abstain.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Lisa Bartley,
Aye.
Jerry Hayes,
Aye.
Megan Warner,
Aye.
I'm Johnson,
Aye.
and Randolph votes aye. So, thank you, thank you.
Randolph,
Yeah.
I apologize, but I'm gonna have to leave at 3 o'clock to
Okay. Yeah,
get my wife to a medical appointment.
okay, we will,
I wonder on this question of recommend versus whatever else you
Yeah.
want to call it, if we could chat about that at this point.
sure. So one of the pieces in the packet is correspondence between Neely and me and town council, which turned out to be Jonathan Simpson on the other end. And it started originally as, this was in motion before the proposal for the roadway work came up. And what we were trying to do was to get back to a regular annual event at one of the trustees meetings where there would be presentation of the balance of the fund, and
Right.
budgeting and recent actual spending. And I actually looked through a bunch of minutes from previous years, and there was often some expression of uncertainty about, well, are we voting to approve? Do we have the authority to approve? Are we just advising about budgeting? And what Mealy and I, we made a specific proposal to the town council. It said, which is the bottom of this first page, Marshall will bring this information, trustees will consider it, to ask questions, and then vote to recommend, vote on recommending its adoption, the budget that it in parts with any comments, from the trustees that they want to offer. And, and I went on to say, this doesn't indicate that the trustees would authorize or vote to approve the expenditures proposed by parks. I don't see that in the special legislation from 1981, which is basically our charge. And Jonathan didn't either. He said what he narrowly said was, I don't see any conflict in what you propose and what the trustees' responsibilities are with respect to expenditures.
So,
I did, I read it carefully, of course, and it didn't take long.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if maybe we need to have him come and be able to answer a couple of questions some point in time as to whether that's consistent with the I'm not quite sure he's saying that. But aside from the legal piece, I did chat with the CPA in terms of what supervise means in the context that we're dealing with. And I don't think this is a good start. I mean, I agree, but I don't think we are there yet in terms of fulfilling whatever obligations the board has in terms of overseeing and monitoring or supervising, concurring, whatever. I think we're getting wrapped up in semantics, and we can try to figure out exactly what the committee back when they separated out or joined these departments meant by supervise.
I'll take your positive comment that we are making progress. We're not there yet. Remember, what's coming up is this September meeting where we're going to do this for a future year. And that's probably the next logical place to try to get better or more or even in-person input from town council.
Right.
I will arrange that if I can. I agree. It would be helpful to have a live exchange.
Okay, so does that mean that you would not be taking a vote on this process today?
No, we'll take a vote. We just did.
Let me add.
Oh, sorry, we didn't. We're not voting on the rubric. Is that what you mean?
What are we going to vote on? I guess. What would the board vote on today?
Well, we just had the vote on DPW's proposal for these spending from the funds.
And that's done.
Yeah, we did that. That's the only vote we're taking that relative to money or authority.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to ask is whether or not we're going to vote this procedure today.
No,
Procedure,
No.
I'm confused.
no.
This proposed,
Okay.
We're gonna try actually doing it in September.
Okay.
And I hope that between all of us and staff, we can try see if it works. And we are trying to we're trying to establish something reasonable that
Right.
recovers the best of the ways
Right.
this has been done in the past. And recognizing that time is going by, we're working with the park director. And,
Right.
let's see if we can get there. Yeah, no, I didn't think we would nail it the first meeting. Let's keep moving because Jerry does have to go. On the agenda, we're gonna go back to the lot rates. But let's just get back in order. So the materials for the lot rates are this is the 2024 rates that we finalized in September 2024. And then there was this 2-page land use analysis document that I brought to the February meeting. This is the one that compared the amount of land in the cemetery used by the upright marker lots, in section 24, back up 11, which use more, and the monolith marker lots, for example, in section 21, that use less. And the third thing, Jesse, if we could have an Excel sheet up on the
Yeah, Neely's gonna
Green.
throw it up for you.
Yeah, well, that's coming up. Let me just say that the third thing is a worksheet that should look familiar because we used it a couple of years ago. Everybody except Tom, that is. And
Yes.
This one.
yeah, that one is so tiny.
I could see it.
I made that PDF wrong. I should have made it silent. That's on me. And well, what the form, where am I on the thing here? So there are three proposals in it. One is to, for the first time, consider a different cost for the monolith lots that use the minimum amount of cemetery land for full body burial, and for the upright marker lots, which use for about almost 50% more. The second is considering a
Like, you know, where you would like this in Randall.
Hmm?
But would you like me to zoom anywhere specific?
no, I'm just gonna, I'll just, and I'm gonna say, look at the screen because this is really hard to see on the little paper.
See that.
So, these two orange cells here, those correspond with the two upright marker lots, which are only sold in doubles or in quads. You can't buy a single one. Because those, if you look in the little land use analysis, those are laid out in groups of 4. You can buy 2 of them, you could buy 4 of them. The single lot rate, which is here, $3,100, that's a 2024 rate. That is now called the full body single monolith marker. That means it's section 21, which is around the communal walls area. And those are the monolith monuments are just in continuous rows. They just have 3 feet by 10 feet. And then it's the next person behind you. So, proposal number 1, and these are the reason this is up on Excel is we could change the math. Proposal number 1 is to price the upright marker lots, which use 140%, 7% of the land area of monolith lots, at 1.40 times the cost of the monolith lots, and that would generate, without any change in the 2024 rates, that would generate these orange numbers here. 8680 for a pair of them, or 4340. So 4340 and 3100, that would be the price differential between a single lot with an upright marker and a single lot with monolith. Second proposal is to say, okay, going from 2024 to 2026, in this second step, to apply a percentage increase, say 2% for those 2 years. Just for reference, we had made changes for a 6-year period in 2024 of 20% for 6 years, 10% for 6 years. It varied quite a bit. Remember, we had spent all this time dealing with the high popularity of full body upright marker lots, so we made them more expensive. So there are 2% added just on everything except cremation lots, which we had sort of gotten to $1,000 and just stopped there. So historically, those have not increased much since 2010, and there are lots of them, as there are lots of flush marker lots. And the third part is proposing no change for the other grave opening services down here. I'm going to pause there. Questions?
Questions or comments?
Either.
If the proposals that were to be voted, were already high relative to municipal cemeteries, I think, right? Although.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure we could, that's knowable, but I don't know right now.
Okay, we're gonna vote this today.
We don't have to. Let me mention one other thing. We are going to be talking about scheduling a site visit in June. If you would like to lay your eyes on the types of lots that there's a proposal to price the snug ones at less and the roomier ones more, we can look at those on a site visit. I was hoping at the latest to vote these in September, which is 2 years after we voted the last rates.
And we would have a chance to check in with our individual cemeteries that we are responsible for surveying.
Yep.
And see what's happening there.
Yep.
Good, yeah, thank you.
That's a good point. Be interested in comparing equal prices to like a Mount Auburn or a Milton.
I think more stand towards the municipal cemeteries because the privates are much more expensive, with the exception of maybe St. Michael's.
You would know.
Yeah,
The
St. Michael's is very inexpensive, but it's nothing in comparison to looking at the cemetery here.
When I made this handout for the land use analysis, I included these little thumbnail pictures. And, I admit I'm exaggerating a little bit for emphasis to show how the monolith monuments are really quite close together. And there really is a lot of grass around the other one. But we haven't actually been to the cemetery together in quite a while. That's something that we could look at.
Right.
Gus?
Thank you. I think there's a very strong, I think this has come up in the past, but I think there's a very strong argument to be made for distinguishing between upright marker and flat marker lots. Clearly, the current planning apparently doesn't have enough space for upright markers. They're obviously more in demand. We have a lot of interment spaces that are available that accommodate flat markers.
Sure,
So I think but from a marketing principle alone, there's good argument to be made for distinguishing between the two.
Just to put some numbers on that, Jocelyn, in the 2024 schedule, the flat marker is $1,700. And the full body, what we're now calling monolith, is $3,100. So it could go 17, 3,100, and if you went with 140, 4,300 or more space.
I think that's the right trajectory.
Okay. We could pause right here and just move on to other stuff. Not asking for a vote, but if you can hold all this in your mind and bring it out again when we get to the cemetery in June, that would be great. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have elections. Where was I? I was thanking Jerry for his recommendation that we be on a 1-year cycle. And then
There was some issue as to whether, I believe the board of the select board, at some point in time talked about trying to get the committees on a July 1 that date for terms.
right.
We could easily do that by a 13-month term for the next chair.
Yeah, but we're not likely to ever have a meeting in July. There never have been meetings in July.
There might be reasons we'd like to be able to say we have a chair between now. We have a month. If we went to July 1 for this election, we're without a chair theoretically for a month, right? Which is why I suggested the 13-month. Your term expires the end of May.
I'd have to look at the minutes. I think I was elected in May.
I think that comes from the rules and regulations for whatever the bylaw.
Yeah, there was a memo that was out at some point in time, which I can.
It was May.
Anyway,
I think it's May.
it would get us to the July 1 prospectively. Next year would be July 1. No. You would not accept a 13-year term if you were nominated.
13.
Oh, I don't, I'll accept anything in the neighborhood of a year, and we'll figure it out when we get to the next year, how to carry on. But, if you want to make that motion, maybe we'll be there in a minute. Any other comments before? Do you want to make that motion?
I'll make a motion that the next chair, whoever we vote for, serve a 13-month tour, starting, June 1,
June 1 to serve ending on July 1.
and we get through to June 30th
Yeah,
next year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Lisa. Discussion? Jocelyn?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just concerned about the fact that it conflicts with the rule, what's in place, the regulation, which is the chair is elected in May.
Wait, we have that? That's,
I think so. So
I don't think so. I mean, I don't.
Isn't that what the guidelines say, whether they're rules or regulations or bylaws?
I'll be honest, I don't know.
I can't remember. So
I think we're making a good faith effort here to have a chair.
I think we should stick with the practice, and I'm very happy to nominate.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I was just gonna go back. Yeah, you made a nomination about the term, but did anybody
Yeah.
mention who?
I would like to nominate a chair. And I'd like to nominate you
Okay,
for a 13 months tour.
all right, great, thank you. Any other nomination?
Well, yeah, so now that you've been identified as the nominee,
Yeah,
you should probably vote on Jerry's motion, which is to extend the term to 13 months.
okay, sure, let's do that. On Jerry's motion, which Lisa was seconded, Jonathan Murphy,
No,
Lisa Farber.
I'm sorry.
This is voting on that it's a 13-month
extend the
term to
a
July.
year or two. It has nothing to do with the capacity or the quality of the nominee.
Right.
The rule.
Yeah,
Damn.
so the rule, it would be May. To follow.
Like, we think, we're not sure. Okay, yeah.
Or I'm gonna change it to I.
Okay, thank you, Jerry Davis. We're voting on your 13-month motion.
Yeah, I vote for it.
Okay, and Peggy,
I'll abstain because I don't know what it is.
I'm gonna abstain. What did we end up with there? How many did we get to? We got 2 yeses?
I think we had. two
Yeah,
yeses
it
and
is. Who
abstain.
knows and
What
who
was your
abstains.
vote?
Yeah,
Nay.
okay. Okay, so with the quorum, yeah, that's not gonna fail. So I think that's not gonna pass. So I think we're falling back on
Yeah.
what has actually been
Draw.
our practice, which is the last time around was a term of a year.
Yep.
Does somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
By Jocelyn,
I'll
seconded
second it. I'll
by
second it. Yeah.
Peggy. And discussion? All right.
No, I think you're very well
Okay.
qualified. Chair.
So can we make this a combined motion that includes a candidate, a nominee? Did you do that?
Absolutely. I
And I
think Jerry knows
apologize if
something to say.
I'm not hearing, I apologize.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not catching up only
Yes,
most of it.
you are the nominee for
Yeah.
a 1-year term, but
Okay.
Jerry has something to say.
Okay, yeah, Jerry.
We'll never get to the 1 July if we don't somehow recover a month.
I think we're gonna have a meeting next May or June though, and we'll,
We'll be where we are now.
where are we now?
How to get to 1 July with a 1-year term. If you would be voted in now.
Yeah.
The term would expire again, same time it's expiring this year, right?
Yeah, May.
So we're a month short of the time to get to July 1.
But are you looking for a problem? Is there a problem to fix? How has this impacted this board?
I'm not, all I'm saying is that, as I understand it, the select board's preference is that terms start July 1. And I see no reason not to comply with that.
I don't know that it's ever been an issue, but I could be mistaken.
The world won't end. However, we would not be in compliance with what the select board suggested for all boards and commissions.
So there was a motion. And it failed. And now we're nominating Randolph for a 1-year term.
And I'm accepting the nomination. I'll be before the selectmen in the fall, probably again, and I will ask about this. Because I would like to be, I'd like to be in sync with them. At least my perspective.
I think we should be.
Yeah, okay. All right, on the motion, for me for a year, Jocelyn,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Barry?
Yeah, I'm gonna vote no, but I'm glad you're gonna be the chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
And Tom's, yes, all right. I'm not sure whether, I'm gonna abstain, so we don't need my vote in.
Thank you.
Back on, so yeah, thank you all.
Thank
it's a
you
lot of
for
work.
doing an
Thank you all.
exceptional job. Doing a great
You
job.
know, and you know, I do
Exceptional.
enjoy anything involving a lot of paper. It's good for me.
And details.
Back to, just back to chair updates, and then I want to, can you stay a few minutes for some stuff? Thank you. Just a note about the deed form. This is speaking of paper. I gave you a little, some details about the direction of this, deed form. Update, and I think we're kind of updating mostly from the 19th century, to get into the 21st century. Jessica and I met about this about a month ago. I've got a working draft, and I think, that it, again, this has the changes in the data to be put into the deed have been informed by the cemetery staff who work with customers one at a time, how many lots, how many monuments, where space for the names. It's good housekeeping, and it's good customer service, and, and it could also be a document that reflects, the changes to the authority of the trustees that went through in 1981, and may include ultimately that we won't be signing them anymore. We'll see where that goes. But I'm hoping to be able to get town council's ear about this later in the year, and maybe we'll have at the end of the year. And with that, let me turn it over to you, Amelia, for some stuff.
As part of my staff updates, we talked about the CPA project, so I won't go over that today. As Randolph mentioned, for the funds review in September, I'll be bringing in proposal for what we're hoping to spend for this fiscal year for FY27. And in addition to that, I've also been working with town staff on trying to kind of figure out like a simplified way to show you all what was spent in the previous fiscal year. So Randolph and I have been talking that in September is the one where we can review the proposed budget for the cemetery gear funding from the trust funds, and also look at what was what we spent,
The actual
where
last
the
year.
actual amount spent last year, and then also where all the trust fund balances are. So just wanted to let you all know that that is upcoming.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic about it. The question that Jerry was asking, are we going to be taking a vote on this new rubric for an annual budget event? I'm not sure we're even going to do it when we meet in September, but we are going to try it. I'm hoping that there's some logic in it being in September, because we're in a new fiscal year for the town, right, from July 1 onwards every year. My high level hope is that it will bring to the trustees a kind of year to year conversancy with what we spend on tree care and tree plantings and other professional services and software and things like that. Just so it's kind of in the air we breathe, and I think that will prepare us better in the long run for larger spending proposals like the one we voted on earlier today.
Okay, great. And the other thing that Randolph and I have been also discussing for a while now is a master plan update for the cemetery. So there was a master plan update done in early 2000s, and another sort of semi-master plan update done, for the tree master plan, and also the lot expansion that Harrison did in 2023. But what both of us, Randolph and I, are on the same page on is, the early 2000 master plan was really great and comprehensive and detailed. But what we are really missing right now is kind of consolidation of that master plan with what was done in 2023 and coming up with a strategic 10-year plan where we're looking at lot expansion and, some alternative burial methods and thinking about, sustainable practices and maybe meadows and, also kind of planting, care, and expansion for the cemetery. So we really think that there has to be something, consolidated at this point for us to, to be able to essentially guide our work for the next decade and more. So where we are right now with this is that we think that this could be a really great candidate for a CPA funding, CPA grant. And there is also one other potential grant that we think that this would be a great candidate for. So we want to, potentially apply for a CPA funding for FY28 on this project. And the intent of that is going to be due in July, and the final application is going to be, if we get invitation to apply, then that will be due in October. So, but just wanted to bring that to all of your attention on what we're thinking of right now.
Great.
And one of the update that is not on the agenda here, but I wanted to bring up, Randolph, that we did discuss last time, was there was a woman who came to the trustees meeting, I believe, last fall about the dog's complaint.
Jackie Cork.
Yes, thank
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Point.
And, our rangers did follow up with her, and trying to, whenever we get like specific complaints like that, like the rangers follow up with the person, with the resident and try to understand like what was the activities that they saw around what time of the day. And, when our rangers had followed up during that time, she seemed to think that the issue was, subsiding, but then, this is still in their cemetery is one of the locations that's on their radar to ensure that, the complaints like that, does not get repeated. So just wanted to let you all know that we will be monitoring the cemetery and making sure that, people are following the guidelines and so forth.
I think Bill McDermott contributes to that. I see him frequently traveling around in his
Yeah.
car with his cigar out the window. And he's very vigilant, in
Yes.
particular to
Yeah.
dog issues. So that's really helpful having.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sure a lot of the dog walkers are regular people and they know who Bill is by now. So that can only help.
Yes, they do seem to be a lot of the regular people who live in the area.
Dog walkers as opposed to professional dog walkers, right? That's kind of what the main focus
Right.
of what.
Yeah, I've seen a
Like-
couple of, look, because they have multiple dogs on leashes.
Right.
But they tend to be very respectful. So I walk a lot in the cemetery when when we're walking toward each other,
Right.
they'll take a turn and, they do tend to be very respectful of people walking. So that's the good news.
Just to tie a couple things together on the master plan, proposal you're talking about, Neely. Jocelyn, you mentioned a little while ago some of the expansion areas for the upright markers that we worked through in 2022 and 2023. Last year already, I put in a sort of information request to Mealy for a kind of snapshot update of the inventory of all the lots, considering the ones that the trustees had recommended be laid out in 2023. And informally, cemetery staff, they not all of them actually have been, but then also factoring in sales, and to see where we really are by this fall. Because I said I was hoping to get the information by the summer. How close to running out of any one type of lot and monument combination we are, because remember it was in 2022 that we kind of hit that wall a little harder than we wanted to. So I'm hoping that this is going to give us a little more planning time. That's why that's also a good reason why it's getting into the master plan and looking at expansion along with other things in the context of the whole cemetery. maybe ultimately more productive.
Yeah.
And then, we kind of had a narrow outcome of the 2022 to 2023 work. And, it was still kind of the pandemic and it was a pressure situation. So I'm hoping we can work more deliberately and watch the defense.
And in the interim, hopefully, lots that are in a designated upright lot section should be used for that and flat markers.
Right.
So I don't know how that happened,
Yeah.
but it
Well,
happened and, there
yeah.
could be a variety of good reasons for it.
But if, again, we're going to talk about the site visit in a minute. We're going to look at some monument design things when we're there.
Mhm.
We have been going through the regulations and the deed and the guidelines, and it really is, it's an expectation that you have that I share, but it is not in our regulations. You can legally buy an upright marker lot at section 24, and you can kind of put any marker that you want there, which is not really what we should want.
Right, that should be restricted.
It should, right, we could restrict it more. And I think to a great extent, the staff have steered it, but not perfectly, as you know. I want to talk about possible window for a site visit, and I just want to get down to the weeks. But I would like to propose in the weeks, if you can look at your calendars, the weeks of June 15th or June 22nd. Just trying to land between major holidays and in the period when I know I'm going to be around, and we're sort of getting to the end of the school year, not quite.
Do you have days in
I
mind?
don't. I was more just sort of at this point looking for, is somebody going to be in another hemisphere or something like that?
India or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Curling.
Yeah, sometimes weekdays be very difficult for me sometimes.
Well, this is going to be a publicly noticed meeting. We will not have discussion. We're not going to have, we'll make a record of it, but it won't be minutes because we're going to be discussing things, but we will be looking at the appearance of the monuments. Because remember, we have this kind of slow moving question of clarifying some of the monument design guidelines. We will look at the lot sizes that we talked about today in the rate schedule. Those are going to be the main things. And you're planning to come, Neely?
If it's on a day that I'm around, I
Right.
will be
Okay.
there.
But what I'm getting at, Tom, is I think it's going to be a weekday
Okay,
event.
because I'm thinking for myself, if it was early morning on a weekday.
That was my next,
cancel my 9
that was my
o'clock
next
appointment.
question. Can folks make an early morning work? That this is kind of in the period of the solstice?
Howard.
How early, Tom?
Oh, I'm thinking for 9 o'clock.
Okay.
He's a bird watcher.
8:39.
I would say 8:39. Okay.
That way I can make my second appointments of the day.
Right. Okay. Let's narrow it down,
Yeah.
you and I will figure the rest out by email. And looking forward, we really have not been to the cemetery together.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
we were working on the build out
Yeah.
zone, so
Right.
we owe it to ourselves and cemetery to spend some time. I should mention also, between now and then, I'm doing Mothers Out Front Brookline have asked me to do a tree tour of Walnut Hills, which is May 16th. I don't have PR from them. I'll share it with you when I get it.
He just.
But they have definitely noticed from the town, Jay, from the urban, what is it, Aaron? The urban
Master.
forest climate resiliency, something like that.
Right.
This data is basically GIS study done in 2021. It shows that hands down Walnut Hills is the coolest and shadiest public open space in the entire town.
Yeah. Yeah, you go in
So
summer.
Mothers Out Front is
beautiful.
all over that
Right.
aspect of trees. So we're gonna take a closer look, get down in the dirt.
Yeah.
So
All right, I was gonna take a motion to adjourn unless there's any other business.
Oh, just a quick one.
Yes,
Okay. I know.
I actually have to run to a 3:15. It was nice to see you all.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Yes. Glad Snowmageddon's over.
Oh, me
The year.
too.
You can survive, but you're still here. Oh, I'm sorry, one
Yeah.
conversation at a time. There wasn't here somewhere discussion about the foster fence. And I didn't want us to forget about the broken fence that is between
This old burial ground?
the old, yeah.
Yeah.
But that triggered something in my mind that we still have an open issue. And an open fence that has, I don't know, problems with it.
At Walnut Hill.
At Walnut Hill, between the library and I think it's section 24.
Chain link fence.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah, but it's a broken
There,
fence.
yeah, there's more than one set open.
Oh, okay,
And
But I
there are
used-
lots of children who use that aperture
right,
to go from Baker to home on Payson Road.
Right. so it's something maybe we want to take a look at when we're doing our little tour. I don't know.
I will,
but
I will put it on the list. If we have
we
time,
need to-
some of those locations.
Keep it on the radar.
To get into, okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
fences.
And again, some of those locations are on our radar. Our fence contractor is just extremely behind on
Okay.
things on our request right now. And which is why, we haven't gotten to some of those.
just don't want
Except
people to
that,
get hurt. And,
Right.
with number one, you don't want anyone to get hurt.
Yeah, I
Because
know.
it's dangerous.
You don't want any go, but-
yeah, but what we've discussed in the past is that I'm one of them, what do you call it?
You're a
Live right
border,
here in
a
a
butter.
I'm in a butter, thank you,
Yeah,
an
a
immediate
butter.
butter of the
Right.
cemetery, and there has been, I moved into that house in the, let me think, nineties. In the nineties, and there's always been an opening in the fence, and I use it, when I had dogs, I used it regularly
Yeah.
to walk my dogs on their leashes. And, it's still there, and I use it to access the cemetery, I know that other abutters do
Okay.
as well, and in this case, I know that it's children, and it's,
Yeah.
the trouble with that particular opening is that it's jagged,
Yes,
and you have to sort of climb under it.
right,
But as a trustee, I have no objection to people like myself, admittedly, accessing the cemetery.
Right.
Because there's more eyes and ears in the cemetery, right? So,
it's just a maybe for future consideration of a gate.
Yeah, maybe
And
an open
that's
fence.
right.
or less dangerous.
Yeah,
Right.
there is an actual gate. You probably know where it is,
Right.
Dawson, over on the Baker Circle corner of the cemetery. Whenever the fence was rebuilt, it's got a swinging gate in somebody's backyard.
Yeah. Yeah,
Has it? The opening of mine is just an opening, somebody,
Right.
presumably just move the chain link to the side, I don't know.
but just to reevaluate for a gate,
Yeah.
that would solve the issue
Yeah,
that
we
could
can
be a
review that.
technical liability for somebody getting hurt.
I want to let folks go. So if somebody,
Yep.
we're going to vote one more time on the
Yep.
motion to adjourn, if somebody would make it.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Tom.
Yeah.
Jocelyn.
Yes.
Lisa.
Yes.
Peggy.
Aye.
John. Tom.
Yes.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Jessica, for this.
So, Tom,
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys
That's
find
all.
the?
When did this happen?
No, Jessica, there's something around.
Oh, you did.
I don't
think Tom or Megan.
But,
Yeah.
If I get older, like every full time, longer.
I don't want to.
Since my.
I have.
One stop, I don't know whether it was the evolution before.
so Randolph, a friend of mine had this condition.
It was good, right,
And
the Bahama.
it went away, he brought it, he went to the,
I'm confident mine's gonna go away.
yeah, it went away,
It
like
just-
that.
You seen last night in here or?
He needs.
No, I just think that my.
He needs
Oh,
an
I
ear
could, I could check maybe
Yeah.
something. I could just.
For what
quickly
you
or
say?
An ear
something.
horn for
A
Randolph.
signal that it's something.
They have like all the other things you worry about, fever and.
That's
mine.
Just.
You ought to see my daughter.
Now they
Just,
I mean, I go to the drugstore.
not in the.
Things ring.
It feels like. walking.
Yeah,
My daughter's is like,
because as I get older,
And I worry about yelling.
No,
But apparently. I can't.
I can't have any backwards.
Yeah.
Because if I have